right, we are going to make easy sandwich yeast bread. This is the best and the easiest sandwich bread you're ever gonna make. I've been making it now for about 12 years. Every time I try a different sandwich bread recipe, I always go back to this one. Cannot wait to show you this bread recipe that we with our family make every single week. It's gonna be healthier, it's gonna be tastier, you're gonna love it. And don't forget to subscribe to Little Oxen Haven here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, so you don't miss any homesteading, live clean, live more, live whole tips that we share with you all the time. All right, let's get started. Everything I'm gonna teach you today, I have put in my bread making guide, the recipe, the tools, where I get ingredients. So be sure to print that off and check out and download that guide that I have prepared for you. Okay, what are you gonna need to make bread? So first, the tools. I love using stoneware bread loaf pans. Oh my goodness, they are the flippin' best. They are the best. If you are going to be making bread long-term, highly recommend investing in these bread loaf pans, stoneware loaf pans. And then obviously you're gonna need a bowl and you're gonna need your hands to knead if you don't have a mixer. If you don't have a mixer like this, you can definitely still make bread for sure. But I love my KitchenAid mixer right here to knead my bread dough. You could use a Bosch mixer. Don't try to use a hand mixer. You want one with a good motor if you have that. And then you're gonna obviously need like measuring spoons. Let's first talk about what kind of flour to use in this recipe. You can go to the store and you can buy a flour called white whole wheat flour. You can do that for sure. I specifically use a flour called hard spring wheat. There's all kinds of wheat out there. Don't get overwhelmed by it, but I like to use a hard spring wheat for this recipe. It is gonna give you a lighter loaf, a nice, light, gloriously yummy loaf. It's not gonna be a brick. It's not gonna be super weedy tasting. So we love that because it is so light, right? When it comes to flour, I'm very passionate. Again, you can just buy flour. Go ahead and do that to try this recipe. If you are going to make bread regularly, consider getting a grain mill to grind your own flour. Because here's the deal, you guys. Flour, once it's been ground, once wheat has been ground into flour, it only takes 24 hours for the nutrients in flour to oxidize. Over 80% of those nutrients will oxidize, meaning your body cannot utilize the nutrients in flour after it's been ground unless you use it right away. So why use a flour that's bought and it's been sitting on the counter? Why use it if your body can't utilize over 80% of the nutrients in that wheat? So I'm so passionate about grinding your own flour if you're gonna make bread regularly. And it's so easy, so cost effective to use long-term. This is an investment, this grain mill, but it will last you for years. I've had this grain mill now for 15 years. So here's the wheat I use. It's a spring hard white wheat. It's called Prairie Gold. You can get wheat from Mennonite stores. Look up Prairie Gold flour. You can go to co-ops if you want to. Go to azurestandard.com, A-Z-U-R-E, standard.com, and you can get hard spring wheat kernels there if you want to as well. Let me show you how this works. All right, turning on my grain mill. And the wheat is being ground into flour, and the flour will go right in here to use. So incredibly easy. All right, so while my flour is grinding, I'm gonna put my water in my bowl. Again, check out the recipe, print it off. I'll put my water in here, and then I'm gonna put my honey and oil. I like to use avocado oil from Costco, and I like to buy honey in bulk as well. So this is oil and honey. Put that right in there as well. Make sure it all gets in there. All right, I'll scrape that out in just a minute. Then you're gonna need salt. I'm gonna go ahead and put my salt in there. Don't forget that salt. All right. And then we're gonna put half of the flour that we need for this recipe. All right, my mixer's going. I'm gonna put half of my flour in here. Again, check out the bread making guide for measurements on how much flour. I put half of my flour in there, and then I'm gonna go ahead and grab my yeast. I love to use yeast from Costco. I get it in bulk, and I just put it in mason jars, and I keep this in the refrigerator. Freezer or refrigerator, because the yeast will last longer if you do it that way. It's a lot cheaper if you buy it in bulk from Costco. I'm gonna put in my yeast. while it's mixing there, okay? This bread recipe is so easy. Oh, you're gonna love it. It's gonna be so much healthier than going to the store to buy your own bread. If you're gonna save money, did you know, like, start reading the labels on your bread. There's a million ingredients in bread that you buy over the counter. There's almost no nutrients in it. It's just wasted fluff calories. So what I love about this recipe as well, it's so easy to freeze. You can make the recipe and freeze the loaves. If I were you, if you don't have a big mixer like this, cut the recipe in half to make 2 loaves. My recipe makes 4 loaves. Just cut it in half to make 2 loaves. And then you can freeze the other loaf and then use 1 loaf right away. You'll love it. Okay, here's also what I want to say about bread making while this is mixing. You want to just enjoy learning about the process. Don't expect to master it the first or even the 10th time. I've been making bread now for a long time. I will tell you, this is the easiest recipe I've ever made. However, you're gonna learn different things. So if your bread isn't as risen as you want it to be, or if it's more crumbly than you want it to be, I will teach you some tips to minimize all of those different things that I've learned from my mistakes. Just plan to make mistakes ahead of time and just learn from it, okay? All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and add some more flour, and I'm gonna teach you how to know how much flour is the perfect amount of flour when it comes to making a perfect dough for your bread. So you want to add just enough flour until the dough starts to break apart from the edge of your bowl. Just like that. You see how the flour has just broken apart from the edge of the bowl? Once it does that, that's the perfect amount of flour that you're going to add to your bowl. Then you set the timer. If you have a mixer, set the timer for 10 minutes so that your mixer can knead that dough. That's so important that your dough is kneaded with the correct amount of time so that the gluten can develop. Now let me show you what to do if you don't have a automatic mixer like this. I can show you how to do it by hand now. If you don't have an automatic mixer, no worries. Lightly flour your surface and you're gonna take your dough and you're gonna knead it by hand. All you do is like press it and then flap it over. Press it, flap it over. Press it, flap it over. Press it, flap it over, press it. So this is how you knead it by hand. Kind of sometimes I'll just grip it with my hands, bring it over here and push like this. And if you're gonna do it by hand, you wanna do this for 15 minutes. So it's gonna give you a good workout. If you have kids that can help you with it, have your kids do it with you and have them take turns kneading it together. So that's how you're gonna knead it by hand if you don't have a mixer. All right, so my bread dough is all done kneading. Isn't it beautiful? So I'm just gonna take a kitchen towel and I am going to cover my bowl like this. And then I'm gonna wait for an hour and a half while this rises. All right, my bread dough has been rising for about 2 hours actually. You wanna rise it for about an hour and a half to 2 hours long, depending on how warm it is in your home. All right, so the dough has been about doubled in size. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put my dough on my surface here. Okay, keep in mind my recipe makes 4 loaves. So if you halved it, your recipe will make 2 loaves. Okay, now all you're gonna do is separate your dough. So separate it here. I separate it into 4 sections to make 4 loaves. And then what I do with each one is I make them into a log. So you're gonna pat it down like this to make kind of like a oval, and then you're just gonna roll it into a log and then pinch the log together, pinch the seams together, pinch the ends together like this, and then you're gonna go ahead and put it right in your loaf pan, just like this. So after you put them in your loaf pan, you want them to rise for about 45 minutes. If they rise for too long the second time around, and guess what? You're gonna have crumbly bread. You don't want that. So I like to set a timer for about 45 minutes. Even if the bread doesn't look like it's totally poofed up and risen enough, you're still fine. You're still fine, okay? 45 minutes, set the timer, and then you're gonna preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Preheat it to 375 degrees. I'll come back and show you what this looks like after it's been rising for about 45 minutes, and we're gonna pop them in the oven. Okay, so now let's clean up some of this bread doughy mess. My 2 favorite cleanup tools, the dishcloth, the Norwex dishcloth, and the kitchen cloth. So grab those 2 tools. The dishcloth, I know it looks kind of weird. It's a nylon cloth. It will never stink on you. You're gonna use it in place of having to use stinky sponges for hand washing any of your dishes. It is an incredible tool for the bread dough and the floury messes on surfaces as well. So as soon as I'm done rising the dough in my bowl, I just really quickly grab my bowl with my dishcloth with a little bit of soap on my dishcloth. I wet my dishcloth, put a little bit of soap on there, and then I just go to town cleaning my bowl with the dishcloth. And it takes out the sticky dough mess in that bowl so easily. The key is like not to let it sit for a long time. Just quickly, just tend to the bowl really quick, and then you're good to go. I'm gonna rinse this off quick to show you how fast and easy it is to clean up your bread dough messes with that Norwex dishcloth, and making the cleanup part of things just so incredibly easy. So all done, all clean. I'm also gonna take my dishcloth and I'm gonna use it to clean up the floury mess. So I'm gonna use it to clean up the mess here, the leftover flour all over the place on my mixer. And then after I quickly just gather any of that floury mess, I'm gonna grab my kitchen cloth. Now this is the cloth, it's microfiber. It's embedded with the Norwex silver as well. So you're just gonna use it with water. Don't use it with any sort of cleaner. You don't need to, because it removes up to 99% of bacteria with just water. And I just go over my surfaces to remove any grime on my surfaces, my bacteria, and all of those things. So just clean with water. That's all you need to do. So I love that tool in the kitchen for easy cleanup when it comes to those bread making messes. And if you're making yogurt and you have some milk mess or whatever you have it, you're just gonna pick that up real quick. What I love about it too is that it absorbs a lot of mess. So you're not having to use 10 paper towels or having to go back and forth to the kitchen sink to wring it out. And when you're done, you rinse, hang to dry, and then the silver embedded into the cloth will self-clean it for you between uses. So you're not gonna have to launder it very often. All right, I've preheated my 375-degree oven. This is what my bread looks like after the second rising. Remember, you don't want it to rise too long. 45 minutes, preheat your oven to 375, and you're gonna pop it in there for 28 minutes. That's how easy it is to make this sandwich recipe. 4 loaves. Now I can freeze whatever I want to in my bag. So I like to use silicone storage bags for my bread. We have been using these for years and years and years. They are so durable. They are a little bit of an investment when you first get them, but you will have these for years, replacing freezer bags, storage bags, things like that. We love these. Yeah, chances are when you make this bread, the first loaf is gonna be eaten the first day you make it because it's so good. So keep that in mind as well. Have fun making your bread. And don't forget to give it a 10 try. Expect to fail, expect to troubleshoot. Here are some of my tips. Be sure that you're kneading it long enough so that the gluten can develop. And then also be sure that you're not letting it rise too long for the second rising, because then it will be crumbly. Preheat your oven and make sure that your bread cools before you slice it up. Now also, here's a couple tools that we love to use. We love our Norwex cutting boards so much. Plastic-free cutting boards. They are made out of recycled rice husks. They are incredibly durable. You will have these for years as well. You're not gonna get like microplastic beads that break down. Plastic cutting boards will break down over time, and those little tiny microscopic plastic beads will go into your food. They are so easy to clean. You can just wipe it off with a Norwex cloth with water and you're good to go, or wash it in the dishwasher. They come in 3 different sizes. This is the extra large size here. They come in regular, extra large, and then small. We've got all 3 sizes, or you can hang them up as well. So we love those. And my absolutely favorite bread making cleanup tools, the kitchen cloth and the dishcloth. These guys are an absolute game changer when it comes to cleaning up the mess. Don't forget to subscribe to Little Oxen Haven YouTube channel to get all the different tips and ways that you can live more, live clean, and live whole in a sustainable and simple way.